What are the cybersecurity implications of the Spirit Airlines shutdown? There's been a lot that's been talked about with Spirit Airlines, but I haven't heard anybody talk about any of these things yet. So we're going to talk about it right now. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? This is your man Marcus, and I am your digital pastor. Yes, I'm still your digital pastor, and it's been way too long since we kicked it. It's been over a year since I last did a video, and everything in my life has changed since then. And I just knew that it was time. It's time. I've got some things to say, and it's time to get back to making content. And I'm so determined to get this piece of content out that I'm doing it again. I just did 2 videos, and neither one of them saved because I didn't have enough space on my phone, man. It's so frustrating, but you just have to overcome. And that's what we're doing right now. And so what are we talking about today? We're talking about Spirit Airlines. Everybody knows what happened over the weekend. Spirit Airlines officially and suddenly shut down its operations with an orderly wind down of their operations. I think that's what the press release said on Saturday, May 2nd. And everybody's had all kinds of things to say about it. Some people making jokes about it because of the perceived quality of Spirit Airlines, or the perceived type of person who flew Spirit Airlines. But I'm definitely not about to get into any of that because I don't think some of that is fair. But what I do want to get into is it's really unfortunate that people lost their jobs. 17,000 people lost their jobs. It's really unfortunate that thousands of flyers had to all of a sudden change plans on a whim, especially those who were leaving on May 2nd, only to go to the airport and find no customer service, find no active workers at kiosks or anything like that. Had to have been a really startling situation. I pray that nobody had any kind of emergency, that they really needed to fly out that day at that exact moment that they were supposed to fly out, or else it's really, really unfortunate. But and all of that is unfortunate, and all of that was talked about this weekend. But one thing that was not talked about, one thing that was overlooked, was something that is very important from a cybersecurity perspective. And it is that of sound IAM practices, identity and access management. Again, 17,000 people, unfortunately, lost their jobs just like that on Saturday, May 2nd, 2026, right? But one thing that I don't think anybody is even thinking about, and if they're thinking about it, I haven't heard anybody talk about it. But it's one of the first things that came to mind when I heard about this situation, when I saw it on the news when I was at the gym on Saturday morning. You have all those accounts. Let's not even look at the passengers and handling their personal information. Let's leave that out of it. Let's just think about the accounts in the Spirit Airline tenant. You have 17,000 people, right? 17,000 employees. Did all of those employees have accounts on? Let's just say it was Azure, because I work with Azure every single day. You might be using Google. You might be using AWS, but I'm an Azure guy, right? So let's say the account was in Azure, the Spirit Airlines tenant, right? what happens with those 17,000 people, assuming all of them had some kind of account on there, right? Whether they were using it for email or whether they, had other things going on there too, right? So what happens to all of those accounts? Was correct IAM practices and the swift and orderly deprovisioning of accounts. Was that part of the orderly shutdown of the company of operations? Because if not, you now have 17,000 accounts just dangling out there in the wind with nobody really thinking about it. So I'm praying that this is not an original thought that I'm having. I'm praying that somebody is taking care of this, right? IAM is so important. You have your joiners, your movers, and your leavers, right? And they all have different concerns when they come into a company. When people join the company, they need access to certain things, and so you give them that access, right? If they're moving from one position to another within the company, well, then you need to deprovision access to some things and then give them access to other things based on what department they're moving from and what department they're moving to, right? But when they're leaving the company, if it's leaving on good terms, then you have a schedule when everything needs to be shut down, making sure that that happens in an orderly fashion, right? If there's something that is not voluntary, if somebody is actually being fired and it's a hostile situation, well, then there needs to be even more care and more security over that situation, and things need to be spun down quickly. Accounts need to be taken offline. Accounts need to be wiped out immediately, and whatever information that employee might have had, that needs to be handled, and access needs to be revoked very, very quickly, right? Because again, it's a hostile situation. So those are things that you're thinking about from an IAM process, from the life cycle, right, of a corporate account, right? Your joiners, movers, and leavers. But these 17,000 employees that have just lost their jobs, now you have 17,000 leavers, right? And this is 17,000 people who are now in a situation that, is it a hostile situation? I mean, it's very emotional when people lose their jobs, obviously, right? But it's not necessarily like, okay, weren't fired, right? But it's still a situation where people are going to be very angry, right? And so, what are we doing with these accounts, right, in this high tension, very emotional situation, right? So this is a very vulnerable spot for this company to be in, right? And now you're going to have, I fear that you're going to have attackers who are going to be trying to exploit this vulnerable situation, and they're going to be trying to really wreak havoc on that tenant if possible. And if there's anything, any accounts that can be exploited, any information on SharePoint or anything like that can be exploited, it's going to be exploited. And so that's one thing I'm really, really concerned about. And so these are the kind of conversations that we need to be having right now, right? And so I don't want to just keep yapping about the problem. Here are a few actionable things that can take place that need to happen right now. If you are an individual contributor, or if you're a leader, right? So if you're an individual contributor and you're watching this video, you're not in leadership, I want you to take this back to your leadership and ask them, are we doing any tabletop exercises? Are we doing any incident response tabletop exercises? Are we doing any disaster recovery tabletop exercises, right? We need to be ready for when disaster strikes, right? We need to be ready for that. And if we're not doing tabletop exercises, let me help you to put some together so that we can be where we need to be as a company. You never want to take, as an individual contributor, you never want to just take problems to leadership. You're not valued that way. You're only valued if you're taking something to leadership, but you're also taking a solution to them, or at least you're taking a willingness to help with the problem that you're bringing them, right? That's how you're valued in a company. So you're going to take this, you're going to talk about this story with your leadership, and you're going to talk about how this is a good opportunity to emphasize tabletop exercises where you can use a scenario like this as your as the scenario that is the basis of your tabletop, right? So that's one thing that needs to happen. If you are an individual contributor, you're taking this to your leadership. If you're leadership, then you need to get with the other leaders and start thinking about, hey, maybe we need to start investing in some tabletop exercises. So that's the first thing. The second thing, very important, that needs to happen is, with this birth of GRC engineering, where governance, risk, and compliance processes that used to be governed simply by static documents and static screenshots is now being augmented and improved and accelerated with DevOps processes and really designing automation to be able to handle a lot of those things, and you're no longer just taking a point in time screenshot to prove compliance, but you're putting code together that compliance is code. You're putting code together that runs compliance checks on a regular basis, so you get more of a real-time snapshot rather than just a point in time of what's going on. So you're taking that same in that same mindset, that same philosophy, and you're putting that toward your IAM practices, where you are going to at least think about. And again, this is something that if you're an individual contributor, you're taking this to your leadership. And do you have anybody in your company that does this? Maybe you need to go talk to that person. Or if you're a leader in your company and you don't have this capability in your company, and you may need to hire somebody, this is something that you need to think about. Do you have the ability? Do you have any processes in place? And are they automated to deprovision accounts at scale? Again, we're talking about 17,000 people, right? That is 17,000 points of access to accounts that are now just dangling out in the wind because Spirit Airlines is no more. And so these are just a few things that we need to be thinking about in light of what's happened. Very unfortunate thing that's happened with Spirit Airlines, and I'm praying for everybody affected, especially those who have lost their jobs, and already so many people losing their jobs, and people who need to try to get something going quickly. I'm praying that happens, but I'm also praying that leaders will begin to think about things like this and seize the opportunity that they have. Seize the opportunity that you have as a leader to be able to design processes and make decisions and document some things left of boom before something happens, right? Instead of right of boom after it's happened, right? So that is my prayer for everyone in this whole situation. Very unfortunate situation with Spirit Airlines, and but in every situation there is something that we can take away from it. And so let us take away the fact that there are always security considerations that need to be made in every circumstance. And that's one thing that I really want to do on this channel. There's so many of my colleagues who are doing great things. They're doing all the explainer videos. They're showing you their home labs. They're showing you what they're doing. What I want to do on this channel is I want to at least begin to introduce some of the things that we need to be talking about. I think that we need to be talking about things better in cybersecurity. The conversations that we have as cybersecurity professionals, I think that we need to elevate those. We need to improve those, but we also need to bring a lot of the things out of the sky, and we need to come off of our ivory towers of experience and ivory towers of expertise in order to really break things down for people who are not security focused, are not as tech savvy, so we can empower them and really build security culture, really build culture around security awareness. But I'm going to be talking about that in further videos. But that's really one thing I want to do on this channel is I want to elevate the kind of conversations that we're having, and I want to start talking about these things the right way. And so I just pray that that can be your takeaway from this video and every video that we share here on out. And that is my job here as your digital pastor. And I pray that you all come along the journey with me. But until next time, God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.